Good morning, my friends. Come sit with me a minute, before the day gets hot. It's 6 o'clock on an August morning. The air hasn't decided yet whether it's going to be cruel to you. There's still a little cool hanging low over the yard, and the dew is sitting on everything, silver and quiet. And you walk out in those old slippers you keep by the back door, to fetch the newspaper off the driveway. And then you turn around, and there they are, your footprints, still sitting in the grass behind you. Every step you took, pressed flat, holding its shape like a memory the lawn can't shake off. Most folks glance at that and think nothing of it. But that isn't nothing. That's your lawn talking to you, in the plainest language it has. And once I tell you what it's saying, you're going to walk out tomorrow morning and see your whole yard differently. Grass blades are mostly water. When a blade is full and happy, it's got pressure inside it, like a garden hose with the tap on. You step on it, it bends, and the moment you lift your foot, it springs right back. But when that blade runs dry, the pressure drops. The hose goes slack. Now when you step on it, it bends over and it just stays. It hasn't got the strength to stand back up. So those aren't footprints. That's a low water mark. Your lawn is showing you its fuel gauge, right there on the ground, for free, every morning of August. And it's been doing it for years while most of us walked right past. That's the first secret I want to hand you, but it isn't the big one. The big one is coming. So let's talk about what's really happening underneath all that brown. Because I think most people have the wrong picture in their head entirely. When you look at a crispy, tan, tired-looking lawn in August, your gut says the lawn is dying, that something has gone wrong, and you've failed it somehow. That's usually not what's happening at all. Some of you are old enough to remember banking a fire. At the end of the night, you didn't let that stove burn out. You raked the ashes over the coals and choked the air back. And to look at it, that stove was dead, gray, no flame, nothing to see. But underneath all that ash, there was one small orange ember, still alive, waiting. In the morning, you'd open the damper, lay on a little kindling, and the whole thing came roaring back like it had never stopped. That is exactly what your lawn is doing right now. Cool season grasses, your fescues, your ryegrasses, your bluegrass, which is what most of us have in the northern half of this country, were never built for August. They're spring and fall creatures. They do their best living when the air is soft and the nights are cool. So when the heat clamps down and the rain quits, they do something ancient and sensible. They stop pouring money into the green part up top, because that part is expensive to run. They pull everything back and protect one thing only: the crown. The crown is the little joint right at the soil line, where the roots below meet the blades above. It's about the size of a grain of rice. You'll never see it, and nobody puts it on the front of a fertilizer bag. But everything your lawn will ever be comes out of that spot. That's your ember. That's the coal under the ash. As long as it's alive, that patch comes back, every time. It doesn't matter how brown the top is, but if the crown dries out and dies, no rain in September is bringing it back. So here's how I want you to think about this month from now on. You are not gardening in August. You are tending a banked fire. Your whole job is keeping that ember from going out. Quick word, and it matters. All of this is aimed at cool season lawns. If you're down south with Bermuda or Zoysia, your grass loves this weather. August is its favorite month. So a good bit of this won't apply to you the same way, and I'll do a proper video for you folks. Now, before you do anything else, you need to know whether that brown patch is sleeping or gone. There's an old test for it, and most everybody knows it. Grab a fistful of the brown grass, close your hand, and give it a steady pull. If it holds on and fights you, good. The roots are still gripping. That's a sleeping lawn. Leave it be. If it lifts right out in your hand with no resistance, most folks will tell you that patch is dead and to plan on reseeding. And here is where I want to slow down. Because there's a second meaning to that test, and almost nobody tells you. In August, of all the months, it's the one you cannot afford to miss. Grass that lifts out easy in August isn't always dead grass. Sometimes it's rootless grass. There's a beetle that comes out of the ground in late June. You've seen them, bumbling around the porch light. In July, the females go down into the thatch and lay their eggs, and those eggs hatch in 2 or 3 weeks into little white grubs, curled in a C shape. And that grub has one job: it eats roots. All summer, in the dark, right under your feet, quietly cutting your lawn off from the soil. By the end of August, they're fully grown and eating hard. Iowa State Extension puts this in words I've never forgotten. They say the first thing white grub damage looks like is drought stress, that gray-green cast, that wilting in the afternoon sun, exactly what a thirsty lawn looks like. And when it worsens, the turf dies in big, irregular patches that can be rolled back like a loose carpet. Rolled back, like a carpet. Because there's nothing holding it down anymore. And here's the part that gives me a chill. Iowa State says grub damage can show up any time after the middle of August, and that it's the arrival of dry weather that makes it seem to appear all of a sudden. Do you hear what that means? August didn't cause it. August pulled the curtain back. The damage has been building since July, hidden under grass that was still getting enough water to fake it. And this changes everything you do next. If that grass came up because it's dead from drought, water is your answer. But if something ate the roots off it, you can water that spot until Christmas and it will not green up. Roots that aren't there can't drink. And worse, and I see this every single fall, folks go out in September, buy a good bag of seed, and sow it right over that bare patch. And those tender new seedlings send their roots down into a nursery full of hungry grubs. That's how you lose a bag of seed and a month of hope in one go. So here's the 5-minute check, and it costs you nothing but a little bending over. Go to the edge of the bad patch, where brown meets green. That's the front line, that's where they're working. Take a spade and cut 3 sides of a square, about a foot across, 2 or 3 inches deep. Fold that flap of sod back like you're opening a little door in your lawn. And look underneath. If they're there, you'll know. White, plump, curled in a C, with 3 pairs of little legs up near the brown head. Count them. Extension folks start getting concerned around 10 or more in that square foot. Fewer than that, a healthy lawn usually shrugs off. And one more sign, the one people misread most. If you come out and something has torn your yard up overnight, chunks of sod flipped, a mess across the grass, that isn't vandalism. That's a skunk, or a raccoon, or the crows. They can smell what's down there. They're not ruining your lawn, my friends. They're reading it, and they're telling you the answer for free. All right, now that you know what you're actually looking at, let's talk about the one thing your grass truly needs this month. Deep water, given rarely, early in the morning. That's the whole thing. It's nearly free, it takes no skill, and it's the most powerful thing you can do for a cool season lawn in August. But I don't want you to just do it. I want you to know why, because the usual explanation is a little off, and the true one is better. You've heard it said that deep watering trains roots to grow deep, and shallow watering keeps them up top. Over a whole season, there's real truth in that. But here's what almost nobody mentions. Penn State Extension tells us cool season grass roots do their best growing when the soil sits between 50 and 65 degrees. When the top inch hits 90, Kentucky bluegrass root growth slows way down or stops altogether. Root growth is strongest in spring and fall, and it drops off hard in the heat. Think about what that means, standing in your yard with the ground baking. You are not building a root system this month. You can't. The soil is too hot. That deep root system you're either enjoying or missing right now was built back in April, May, and June, while you were mowing and not thinking much about it. August isn't when you earn your roots. August is when you spend them. Michigan State says it plainly too. Grass roots are naturally shorter through the hot, dry stretch of summer, and putting on too much water then is wasted, because it slides past below where the roots can reach. So we still water deep and rarely. Absolutely. But now you know it isn't a training program. It's protection. Deep water fills the ground below the crown, so there's a reserve to draw on. And watering rarely lets the surface dry between drinks, which keeps the blades from sitting wet. Here's a way to hold it in your head. Spring is the classroom. August is the exam. You don't learn anything new in an exam. You find out what you took the trouble to learn. And that's not a scolding, my friends. That's a comfort. It means the pressure is off. You don't have to fix your lawn this month. You just have to carry it. So let's do it right. Starting with the part most people get backwards, knowing when to water at all. Don't water on a schedule. A calendar doesn't know if it rained Tuesday. Let the lawn tell you, the way it's been trying to. Start with those footprints, then look at the color. Clemson Extension points out that blades wilt, roll, and fold up on themselves during a dry stretch, and those signs come before the browning. Watch for a dull, bluish-gray cast coming over the yard, like somebody laid smoked glass over the green. That's the real secret hiding in plain sight. Your lawn doesn't go from green to brown. It goes green, then gray-blue, then folded, then brown. By the time it's brown, it's been asking for 4 days. Learn to see the gray, and you're always ahead of it. Now, how much? About an inch at a time to start. And here's the trick your grandmother probably knew. Get a few empty tuna cans out of the recycling and set them on the grass while the sprinkler runs. When there's an inch standing in the cans, you're done. And now you know how long your sprinkler needs. 25 minutes, or 50, whatever it turns out to be. Write it on a scrap of paper and tape it inside the garage door. You'll never guess again, as long as you own that sprinkler. 10 cents worth of empty cans, and you've just outdone every fancy irrigation controller on the market. I do love that. Then, half an hour after you shut it off, push a long screwdriver straight down into the soil. It slides easily through wet ground and hits a wall where the dry earth begins. That's your answer, right there in your hand. You want it sliding down 4 to 6 inches. If it stops at 2, run it longer next time. And if it goes past 6 and you're still watering, stop. That water is heading below where those short summer roots can follow. If you've got heavy clay, you know what happens. 20 minutes in, and half of it's running down the drive. So don't fight it. Split the job. Half an inch. Shut it off. Let it soak half an hour. Then come back and put down the rest. Same water, same morning. And this time it goes in instead of away. Sandy soil is the opposite. It drinks fast and holds nothing. Come around more often, with less each time. And here's advice that saves water, money, and effort all at once. You don't have to water the whole yard. Clemson makes this point, and I wish more people heard it. Find the thirsty spots and water those. It's the same places every year. The high spots, the sandy patch, the strip along the driveway, where concrete throws heat back into the ground like a griddle, and the ring under the big shade tree, where the tree roots drink first and leave your grass whatever's left. Those spots are the canary in the coal mine. They go first, every time. If they're still holding up, the rest of the yard is fine. And when they get thirsty, hand water just them in the cool of the morning. 10 minutes. Let the rest look after itself. And morning. Always morning. Early, before the sun really means it. Michigan State recommends morning through early afternoon and warns against evening watering, because evening water leaves the lawn sitting wet all night, and that long damp darkness is exactly what lawn disease is waiting for. Missouri Extension puts the sweet spot around 6 to 8 in the morning, when the wind is quiet and evaporation is next to nothing. Water at dawn, and the sun spends all day drying the blades. Water at dusk, and you've tucked your lawn into a wet bed for 12 hours. Same water. Completely different outcome. Now, some of you are under water restrictions. Some of you looked at a summer water bill and decided no lawn on earth is worth that. And some of you are simply tired, and that's allowed too. So let me be honest, because there's a second road here, and it's a respectable one. You can let it sleep. A healthy, established cool season lawn can go brown and dormant and ride the whole thing out. That's not failure. It's what the plant was designed to do long before any of us came along with hoses. The University of Maryland actually recommends letting an established cool season lawn go dormant in summer rather than fighting to keep it green. But choose that road properly. Here's a number most people never hear. Michigan State's guidance. During a long dry stretch of 3 or 4 weeks, with temperatures in the mid-80s and up, put down about half an inch of water every 2 to 3 weeks. Half an inch, not 1 inch, not a good deep soak. And here's the beautiful part. That amount is chosen deliberately, so it will not green the lawn back up. It's just enough to keep the crown from drying out, nothing more. Because waking a sleeping lawn is expensive for the plant. Illinois Extension explains that breaking dormancy drains the plant's reserves, and if it's still hot and dry after that, it has no way to put them back. So the worst thing you can do is the middle road. A little sprinkle, enough to stir it awake, then nothing. Then a little more. Wake, sleep, wake, sleep. Every time you rouse that ember, it burns fuel it can't replace. Pick a lane, my friends. Keep it green properly, or let it sleep properly. Both work. It's the wavering in between that does the damage, and there's a limit to how long it can sleep. Iowa State says cool season turf can generally stay dormant 4 to 6 weeks without meaningful harm. But past that, you're at real risk of losing it. So mark the calendar. If it's been fully brown 6 weeks, with no rain coming, step in. Iowa State's method: 1 to 1.5 inches in a single go, then water again 7 days later. It usually begins greening after that second one. And one small kindness while it sleeps: stay off it. A dormant lawn is brittle, and boots and wheelbarrow tires crush the crowns along whatever path you keep taking. Come fall, everything greens up except a set of dead trails showing exactly where everyone walked all summer. Let it rest. It's earned it. All right, now the things that undo all of this. 4 mistakes, and I'll tell you now, I've made 3 of them myself. The first is fertilizer. It's the most natural instinct in the world. The lawn looks pale and poorly, so you think, I'll feed it. That's what you do for anything that looks poorly. Please don't, not this month. Michigan State is direct. A dormant lawn isn't growing, so fertilizing should wait until it comes out of dormancy. Think about it from the plant's side. That grass deliberately shut down its top growth to save its life. Nitrogen is an order to grow. You're standing over an exhausted person telling them to run. And fertilizer is salt. Spread salt on ground already short of water, and you pull moisture out of the very tissue you're trying to help. That's how a brown patch becomes a dead patch. Save it. Feed in the fall, when it's cool and the grass is hungry, and it pays you back tenfold. In August, the kindest thing you can do is leave it alone. Don't throw a log on a banked fire. Second mistake: cutting too short. I know the temptation. Cut it low, buy yourself a few extra days. In August, that's a bad trade. Iowa State recommends 3 to 3.5 inches through the heat. Taller blades shade the soil, and shaded soil stays cooler and holds moisture longer. It's insulation you grow for free. Scalp it, and you hand the sun a clear shot at the dirt. The ground bakes, the crowns cook, and now you're watering twice as much to fix a problem you made with the mower. Never take more than 1/3 of the blade in one pass. And keep that blade sharp. A dull mower tears the grass instead of cutting it, and every torn end is an open door for disease in warm, humid weather. And leave the clippings where they fall. Don't bag them in August. They break down fast, shade the soil, and hand a little moisture and nutrition straight back. Free mulch and less work for you. Just mow when it's dry so they scatter instead of clumping. And if the lawn has gone fully dormant, don't mow at all. Maryland Extension says not to mow when growth has paused from drought or heat above 90. There's nothing to cut. You'd just be driving a heavy machine over sleeping crowns. Third mistake, and this is the one hardly anybody warns you about, and it does the most permanent damage: the spray bottle. Here's how it happens, and it happens to good, careful people. The lawn goes brown, the weeds don't. Weeds are tougher than turf, and they stay green right through it. So you're looking at a tan yard with bright green weeds standing up in it like flags. It offends the eye, and you think, well, at least I can deal with those. Put the sprayer down, just for a few weeks. Clemson Extension is very clear. Herbicides should not go on a lawn when the temperature is above 85 degrees, or when the lawn is short of water and wilting. The surfactants in most of these products can cause severe injury under those conditions. And they add something I'd never considered. Don't spray early in the morning either. If the forecast says it'll top 85 later, the afternoon heat does the damage just the same. And Clemson's Adam Gore explains why it backfires twice over. Above 90 degrees, the weeds have slowed down too, so the product doesn't move through them properly and you get poor control anyway. Meanwhile, your grass is already carrying a full load of heat stress, and now it has one more chemical to break down. He notes this hits cool season grasses like tall fescue especially hard. Roch Gausson, the turfgrass specialist at the University of Nebraska, says these products do their best work between 70 and 85 degrees, and that most labels themselves warn against treating plants under stress. Read that again. because it's the whole thing in one sentence. The weeds won't die properly, and your grass might. And here's the mercy in it. Most of those summer weeds are annuals. They're going to die on their own when the cold comes. Whether you spray them or not, they're already finishing their year. The weed dies in the fall regardless. What you spray today is what stays. Wait for a cool, calm week. Read the label. Spot treat what actually needs it, and go inside. That yard will forgive you for waiting. It may not forgive you for not waiting. Fourth, and this one isn't so much a mistake as a missed appointment. Depending on what day you're watching this, it might be the most valuable thing I tell you. Seeding. Most advice says the same thing. Wait until it cools off. Seed in the fall. That's not wrong. Exactly. But it's vague, and vague costs you. Here's a real date instead. The turfgrass specialists at Iowa State pick August 15th as their target for the best time to sow cool season grass seed. Not September. Not when it cools. The middle of August. They say the window runs mid-August through mid-September, and that seeding from late May through mid-August is difficult and usually fails. So if you're watching this in the second half of August up north, you are not early. You are standing at the front door of the best 2 weeks of your gardening year. And the reason is the loveliest bit of sense in this whole subject. You're not waiting for cool weather. You're waiting for the overlap. Iowa State explains that cool season seed germinates quickly in the warm soil of late summer. Then the warm days and cool nights of early fall push that new grass to grow fast. And because very few weed seeds sprout in late summer and fall, the young grass comes up with hardly anyone competing for the space. Do you see it? You need warm ground and cool air at the same time. The warm ground wakes the seed up. The cool air keeps the seedling alive once it's up. You need both, together, and that overlap only opens for a few weeks. If you wait until it feels cool to you, the ground has begun cooling too, and you've given away half the engine. So August isn't a waiting month. It's a preparing month, with a deadline in the middle of it. Walk the yard. Mark the thin spots and ask honestly why they're thin. Shade, foot traffic, packed ground, tree roots. Fix the reason, not the symptom. Buy your seed before the garden center runs low on the good mixes. Loosen those bare patches so the seed finds soil instead of sitting on top. And keep the crown alive until then. Seed sown into a lawn that still has a living root system underneath, fills in dense and beautiful. Seed sown where the crowns died in August is just a slower, more expensive way of starting over. Now let me tell you a story, because I think it'll stay with you. Back in 1920, there was a lawyer up in Toledo, Ohio, named E.J. Marshall, in charge of getting his golf course ready for a national championship. He wanted honest, unbiased advice about grass, not a salesman's advice, real information, and he couldn't find any. Nobody had written it down. So he went to the United States Golf Association, and they went to the Department of Agriculture. And on the 30th of November 1920, those two organizations agreed to sit down and study grass properly for the first time in this country. They planted their test plots on Agriculture Department farmland along the Potomac River in Arlington, Virginia. They called it the Arlington Turf Gardens. Two men named Charles Piper and Russell Oakley put in over 100 different selections of grass and then did the patient, unglamorous thing. They watched, season after season, writing down which grasses lived through the hot months and which ones didn't. Everything I've told you this morning, the crown, the dormancy, the water, the timing, traces back through decades of work to men standing in a field in the heat, taking notes. And then in the 1940s, the War Department needed that land. They moved every plant they could to a research station in Beltsville, Maryland, and they poured concrete over the Arlington Turf Gardens. Today, that ground is the Pentagon. I think about that sometimes. The exact patch of earth where this country first sat down and learned what grass does in a hot August. You can't stand on it anymore. There's a building on it. But the lessons those men wrote down are still here. They're in the extension bulletins. They're in what your county agent tells you. And this morning, they're in your yard. Nothing about your lawn is new. Somebody already stood in the heat and figured it out for you 100 years ago and asked nothing in return but that we'd use it. Now, I'd love to hear from you, and not about lawns exactly. Tell me about the garden you grew up around. Whose was it? Your mother's, your grandmother's, somebody down the road? What time of morning did they go out to water? Somebody taught you that hour, whether you remember it or not, and I'd bet money it was early. And is there a trick in your family that never came out of any book? Something passed hand to hand that everybody in your house just knew? I've learned more from those comments than from anything I read all year, and I mean that. And if you've ever watched a lawn sit brown a whole month and then come back, tell me where that was, and what year. Those stories are worth more than they seem. They're the ones that let somebody watching today stop panicking. So let's put it together, plain and simple. Your lawn in August is a banked fire, brown on top, alive underneath. The one thing it needs from you is deep water, given rarely, early in the morning, enough to keep that ember from drying out. Everything else is just making sure you don't smother it. Don't feed it. Don't scalp it. Don't spray it. And if it lifts out of the ground too easily, get down on your knees and find out why before you blame the weather. Then September comes. The first cool front pushes through, the nights turn, a real rain falls, and the ash gets brushed aside. That ember catches, and in about 10 days, that tired brown yard comes back green, in a way that will honestly surprise you, even when you were expecting it. And if you got your seed down in that overlap, that quiet stretch at the end of August when the ground was still warm and the air had just begun to turn, it comes back thicker than it was in the spring. That's not luck, my friends. That's just somebody who knew what month it was. Thank you for sitting with me this morning. Go easy on yourself, and go easy on that lawn. It's been through a lot this summer. So have you. Water deep, water early, and then leave it be. I'll see you out there.